Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, Radnor Township School District Virtual Regular Business Meeting. I will call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'd like to report that the board met in executive session on May 13th to discuss legal matters, and on May 25th this evening to discuss personnel items. And with that, we will welcome our students for their student report. Welcome, Sammy. I think Austin is probably here as well. I don't see Austin, actually. Sammy, is Austin going to be joining us tonight?
Yeah, I think sometimes his Zoom might take a little bit longer to load, but I know he's here tonight.
Okay, will you be starting or will he?
He is starting, so I don't know.
Okay.
We can see.
Well, maybe our communications department can tell us, is Austin in the waiting room?
So I saw Austin, I moved Austin. Austin disappeared. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Sorry, my internet has been acting weird today. So
no worries. Welcome, Austin. Welcome, Sammy. So we're ready for our student report.
All right. Good evening. Earlier this month, I saw you break ground on the Radnor High School Wellness and Accessibility Project. Students are more than excited for the renovations, and every morning walking into school, you'll see a sudden decrease in pace as students browse the renderings propped in the lobby. Not only are students enthusiastic about the addition, but it's that time of year again where summer fever is catching on and students are eager to complete the school year with 1 month left. Despite that, May embarks a new era for Radnor where vaccinated students over the age of 16 are fully vaccinated this Friday the 28th, 2 weeks after their second shot. Like before, students were welcomed into the high school to receive their vaccine, but this time the clinic was open to ages of 12 through 15 too last Monday. With this, students are hopeful for a normal upcoming school year where football games can be watched, the Ellen Pep Rally can be held, and school dances can occur. Speaking of, Radnor's outdoor senior prom was last Saturday. To ensure safety against COVID-19, students attending the prom were tested 2 weeks prior, as well as today and tomorrow, allowing participants to dance closer together without masks. The event was spectacular. Upon arrival, dressed-up students would enter the lobby to sign in and then get breathalyzed. After they were cleared, students walked down to junior lot where the party was just getting started. In the large tent, food and drinks were provided, but it didn't take long for everyone to get to dessert and then hit the dance floor. There was dancing circles, dance-offs, a lot of jumping around, and singing. Well, really yelling to songs. The seniors are extremely thankful towards administration, teachers, and the parents who orchestrated everything and helped them get the prom they deserve. Now, seniors are awaiting their carnival day on June 5th, and then graduation, which is scheduled for the 16th at Villanova's football stadium, where each graduate is permitted 4 guests to celebrate their success at Radnor with. As I mentioned in last month's meeting, student government elections were upon the classes. Now that they've passed, each grade will be led by new and current student leaders. Next year's sophomore class has Finn Ryan serving as their president and Angel Flores as vice president. Rising juniors have elected PJ Duffy as their president and Hajun Kim as vice president. As for next year's seniors, Justin Norian was re-elected president and Naya Anand as vice president. Additionally, the entire school voted for their executive leaders, resulting in junior Tien Tran as next year's executive director of student affairs and sophomore Michael McNicholas as executive vice president. But before this year ends, the current junior class is preparing for their Starry Night Junior Social on June 12th. At this spin-off prom event, juniors are invited to come as singles, in groups, or with dates for a final junior hurrah. Hosted in the library courtyard, snacks, music, and warm lighting will accompany the juniors. As you know, the Club Action Earth is always encouraging recycling, renewing, and reusing. So as a part of spring cleaning efforts, they hosted a clothing and sports equipment drive from the 17th to the 21st. Posters around the school stated that it takes 2,700 liters of water to produce 1 shirt. So why not donate some clothes and free up space for our summer wardrobe? They've made this possible by placing donation bins in the high school lobby and cafeteria, which have collected enough donations for multiple back and forth trips to their cars. In sports, last Thursday, the boys lacrosse team wore white graphic t-shirts in support of their advancement to district playoffs. The shirts had a seatbelt printed across the front of it and the words "buckle up" on the back, which at first might not make sense. But once hearing this season's slogan, "all gas, no brakes," meaning they're headed towards victory, it all makes sense. The team then proceeded to score 15 winning goals against Strathaven that night. The girls' lacrosse team also celebrated a victory in their playoff game against Springfield, where senior Tori DiCarlo scored her 100th career point with Radnor. At the end of the game, her teammates and friends congratulated her with a sign. In baseball, the varsity team won with a score of 15-3 against Harrison High School last Monday. As for the softball team, they put in a tough fight, but unfortunately lost to Harrison by 2-7. This past weekend, the boys and girls track teams competed in the District 1 championships. Running the mile in 4 minutes and 20 seconds, Max Dooley came in 4th place. Running the 4x4, Colin Cheshire, Max Dooley again, Chris Bells, and Gavin Williams came in 2nd place. And Lucy Henkel made a 2 minute and 16-second 800 meter. With scores as such, this weekend they'll race in the PIAA state championships. Overall, sports have taken a turn just this past week when the PIAA announced that masks were no longer mandatory for spring sports. Seeing our athletes smile again brings hope for the future and serves as a wonderful pat in the back for Radnor's efforts against COVID-19. Thank you, and let's welcome Sammy.
Thank you, Austin, and good evening, everyone. This week certainly is full of excitement. While the sophomores missed out on their classic sophomore semi, some may argue that the big spring event this year, the movie night, is even better. After a few months of planning, the Sophomore Student Council organized a movie night for this Thursday. A survey was sent out to the entire grade with a few different movie options, and the sophomore grade picked out Ferris Bueller's Day Off as their favorite. I was really rooting for The Princess Bride, but I'm excited nonetheless. Students will bring their own blankets and lawn chairs, but popcorn, snacks, and swag will be provided. This fun event will take place on Loop Field, and over 100 students are expected to attend. As you know, the show must go on. This Thursday, the RHS student performance of High School Musical, The Musical, will premiere on YouTube. Students have been rehearsing since February, reading through scenes, learning dances, and learning the music over Zoom. After the first reading rehearsal, the students then practiced without their scripts, and the next time they rehearsed that scene, they filmed it. The musical's creative staff made the process as collaborative as possible. They were able to come up with a solution for the actors to film together while not being physically together. For example, students might be on a Zoom call on their computers with headphones in, but they'd be filming the scene on their phones. So the phone would only pick up each person's voice, but the students were still able to hear their scene partners through the headphones. As far as music and dance go, students learned the pieces and then recorded and submitted them on their own time. The staff then took to editing and combining all of the videos sent in from the cast, which included about 1,200 uploads. Last Sunday, the cast had their one and only in-person rehearsal. As you'll see if you tune in to watch the show this weekend, the students filmed the finale spread out and wearing masks, but all together. To make sure a shot of everyone was included, even a drone was used in the filming. Performances will stream live every day at 7:30 from May 27th to June 2nd, with a 2 p.m. matinee on the 29th. The students have worked incredibly hard, and everyone is excited to see how this innovative new way of performing turns out. As we are nearing the end of the year, the music department is gearing up for the big final concerts. On June 10th, the orchestra will perform a concert in the main lobby at RHS with 65 students safely spread out. With only senior parents are allowed to attend in person, the show will be recorded with state-of-the-art professional 8-angle cameras, overhead microphones, and stage lights. The orchestra is planning on playing both classical selections, including a Beethoven symphony, a Korean folk song, and fan favorite rock and roll pieces such as A Sky Full of Stars and Stand By Me. In addition, all of the students will play the song Memories together, honoring their last high school orchestra performance. Switching to club news, the Breakfast Philosophy Club certainly knows how to start the morning off right. Beginning earlier this month, the club began their bi-weekly meetings in the RHS Library Courtyard. These gatherings are held during the activities and assistance time, which is a 30-minute period on Thursdays and Fridays where students can schedule meetings with teachers and clubs. Students have to stay in their homeroom for the most part and meet over Zoom, but because 10 people all on different calls can make it hard to focus, Breakfast Philosophy found a peaceful solution in going outside. Students in the club gathered to eat donuts, cookies, and pie, while also discussing topics such as when do someone's evil actions cancel out the good they have done. As Austin mentioned, this past month, RHS has hosted multiple vaccine clinics for the RHS and RMS students, as well as for students from neighboring schools. While being able to get a vaccine so easily is incredible on its own, an added bonus are the early dismissal days that go with the vaccine clinic. In order to give the RHS and RMS administrators and staff time to prepare for hosting the clinics, all RHS students were online for those days, participating in Zoom learning once again. Seeing all my classmates in tiny boxes across the screen and analyzing literature as my teacher sat in his daughter's bedroom brought back a lot of memories from virtual learning this fall. I was very impressed with how easily my teachers transferred in-person lessons from the day before to the online format, ensuring that we lost no valuable learning time. Finally, AP testing is almost over, and I can tell you that RHS students will be thrilled to be done. While stress levels were pretty high this past month, some very special furry friends helped bring some calm and lots of smiles to the school. Starting at the end of April, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, therapy dogs from Paws for People have come to visit the library. All students are invited to stop by from 11:40 to 1:40 to take a moment to pet some of the very well-behaved visitors. Between Piper, a tiny Maltipoo, and Dakota, a big fluffy Bernese mountain dog, all dog lovers are happy. I hope everyone has a great Memorial Day weekend, and Austin and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you both for your reports. Take care. And now we have Dr. Batchelor with our report from the superintendent. Dr. Batchelor?
Good evening. It's great to see everyone, and thank you, Sammy and Austin, for your report. Austin, you mentioned that the students are having summer fever, and I think it's not just the students. I think especially after the weather we all experienced this past weekend, we're all feeling a little bit of summer fever right now. And I want to also just note some of the highlights that they mentioned, and thank our students. Yes, the administrative team and staff and teachers and the advisors put together a wonderful prom this weekend for our seniors, but I want to thank our students. Our students continually impress us and step up to the occasion. And it was just a wonderful event, and it had some added pieces as we changed our policy, as Austin mentioned, with breathalyzing our students, and everything went successfully and smoothly. And I just want to thank our students for just having a great time and for doing it well and enjoying the evening. And I know the high school administration that worked so hard with the advisors to put together that evening. We're just excited to see the kids celebrating together. So I want to mention a few things and remarks tonight. First off, our next slide is what we see every month, and I've been waiting for many months to be sharing information like this. We have been hoping, and we've been wanting to see for the last few months numbers like this, and our dashboard that we continue to populate each week on our website. Our community, our staff can continue to follow that. We're very pleased to see the direction that we're experiencing here in Radnor, and obviously what we're experiencing in the county and we're experiencing in our country as well. Things are headed in the right direction, so we'll continue to track that, but very pleased to see these numbers and where these numbers are now for us as we're finishing out this school year. We move to the next slide. We continue to track our cases, and this is again more good news for us. And I again want to thank our community, our parents, our teachers, our staff, our teachers, administration, everybody for coming together. We had to weather a really difficult time. If you see that spike that we had, and we continue to depend on our mitigation strategies, and we've continued to do our vaccinations as well. And we're just pleased to see where the numbers are as we move forward, our positive cases as we move forward, just as Radnor each week, and we'll continue to publish these numbers. Next slide. Austin mentioned, I think, and Sammy mentioned that the change in masking, I did share information with our entire community. The Chester County Health Department, which we have been working with all school year in Delaware County, did adjust its guidance, and we shared information with our community that any staff or any student engaging in high exertion, outdoor activities, that includes recess, but athletics, are not required to wear a mask outside anymore when they're actively engaged in those activities. And also we're going to continue to, follow, closely monitor and follow the guidance from the Chester County Health Department. Now, the CDC has provided guidance and has shared that vaccinated people, can now move forward, not wearing masks. But at this time, the Chester County Health Department is still recommending that schools, and our state is still recommending that schools continue with the masking throughout this school year, as we just have, a few weeks left in the school year. Obviously, we have many students who are not vaccinated, especially at the elementary years. We did successfully have many of our middle school students and early high school students were just involved in the first round of vaccination, and will be coming back for that second round of vaccination in just a couple of weeks. But as of now, and as everything has continued to change this year, who knows what changes will be upon us in a week from now. But as of now, we're going to continue, with our protocols that we have in place as we finish out the year, with this also adjustment, though, that we already shared about the masking outside when involved in outdoor activities. On the next slide, we have some of the pictures from our vaccination clinics. So as everybody is well aware, I just want to thank our community for their patience with this as well. When we offered our high school back in November, December to the county for vaccinations when we were ready, we were able to then, have our high school available, 4 weeks ago, used for vaccinating our community. And that gave us the opportunity on that Friday before that weekend to vaccinate our 16, 17, and 18-year-olds on that Friday, working with Springfield Pharmacy. So we worked with Springfield Pharmacy to do our 16, 17, 18-year-olds. We worked with the county and Penn Medicine to do a Saturday, Sunday event that had approximately 1,700 doses each day. And then we were 3 weeks later back at it. So not last weekend, but the weekend before, we were back at it with the second dose for all of those people. And because, again, we were set up, we were able to nestle in on that Monday for the 12, 13, 14, and 15-year-olds for those interested in our community. And we had a phenomenal turnout of 1,400 plus students. We did host for Marple High School and Haverford High School as well, students, as we worked as a county, worked with our Delaware County Intermediate Unit to set this up with Springfield Pharmacy to do the students. We will be turning around that second dose for our students. I do understand the challenge. Sammy, I was happy to hear you say, how pleased you were with the instruction that we went virtual on the high school for that Monday to get the vaccinations done. I hated to have to do that, I have to tell you. We didn't want to have to move the high school virtual for the day, but at the same time, it just made sense. It made sense to get this done as early as possible. It made sense to move it in the coordination with what was already happening on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then to nestle in that Monday to be able to do it. We're going to look at the return date for our students as well, and we'll be looking to adjust the schedule on that day as well, because we'll have 1,400 students again coming through for their second shot. So we'll provide more information to our community and students moving forward. But I want to thank everybody for their patience, and also thank our volunteers and our administrative team. There's a middle picture in there that has Doug Kent in there, has Vaughn Bryan in the middle there, who's been leading this effort. Has Joe McNamara from the high school in that picture, and Bill Dolan, operations director. There's been an entire team of administrators and staff and volunteers. Our teachers were volunteering, our support staff were volunteering to be there and help this cause and our community as well. So it's just been really appreciated. We really appreciate everybody, really all hands on deck to be able to do this and do it so well. So we're excited to be able to have that second dose for them. And we're excited that, as I mentioned, that our 16, 17, 18-year-olds will be 2 weeks beyond their last shot in a week's time, which is exciting to help keep our numbers down as a community. Next slide, we have Sammy and Austin again mentioned many of these things, so I won't go over them all, but the end of year events are busy. This is always a busy time of year. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, from our virtual high school musical to other end of year events that'll be happening at all of our buildings. So I wanted to take a moment to just share these with the board and our community as we move towards the end of this school year. And the last slide, the last two slides, I want to mention that our summer programming, we've shared this on many resources, but just a reminder to the board and a reminder to our community that if you go to our website, you can't miss it, our summer programming. Not only do we have programs, STEAM programs, we have book clubs, we have enrichment camps, enrichment programming. We have summer school options. We have extended school year options as well. So please take a look at our summer programming options. A lot of people have worked very hard to put those together. Also knowing that this year was a year that was unlike any year, we wanted to make sure that we had summer programming options that would support our students as we move into next school year. And last, but certainly not least, is want to thank our Radnor Educational Foundation for their most recent grant to the middle school. That is for a play that they would be doing with the students. That is the name of it, Quarantine. And so they are contributing to supporting that production. So thank you, Radnor Educational Foundation, for all you do to support our programming here in the school district. And that's all I have for superintendent remarks.
Well, thank you, Dr. Batchelor. We're going to get right underway with our recognitions this evening. We have three. First up is the Radnor Middle School teacher, Doug Pittman, wins the 2021 Making a Difference Award. And I'm going to turn this recognition over to Ms. Duffy. I know that we're going to be bringing Mr. Pittman in to our Zoom meeting, so we'll give him a moment to join us. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Duffy.
I see him. Welcome, Mr. Pittman. Well, Mr. Pittman has taught the children of multiple board members, so there was a bit of a competition to get this honor, and lucky me, I drew the winning straw. So here goes. Radnor Middle School teacher Douglas Pittman was recently awarded a 2021 Making a Difference Award sponsored by the Delaware County Right to Education Task Force. The award recognizes adults who have demonstrated extraordinary efforts through their exceptional work to promote acceptance and understanding to ensure the inclusion of children of all abilities. Mr. Pittman was nominated by an RTSD parent and honored during a virtual ceremony on May 20th, 2021. The Delaware County Right to Education Task Force is comprised of parents, agencies, and district representatives, and was established to assist in improving education for all school-age children with learning disabilities, physical handicaps, emotional difficulties, vision, speech, language, and hearing impairments. The superintendent, along with the board and the Radnor community, congratulates Mr. Pittman on this outstanding accomplishment. Thanks for making us Radnor proud.
Thank you. Thank you. I must admit, though, I actually did not go to the ceremony. I actually went to a softball game that night, so I did not go to that. But thank you for the recognition. I appreciate it.
Well done.
Well, thank you very much. Next up, we have three Radnor High School student musicians selected to the PMEA All-State Ensemble. And Ms. Gangle, I think we're going to be welcoming in our students.
We are. They should be joining in just a moment.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Alrighty, so I'm actually have the privilege to do this particular recognition this evening. So Radnor High School student musicians, Anika Jaswal, Audrey Nydland, and Aaron Zhu were selected by audition to the 2021 Pennsylvania Music Education Association, PMEA, All-State Ensemble. Anika was selected to the cello section of the All-State Ensemble, Aaron to the violin section of the All-State Orchestra Ensemble, and Audrey to the flute section of the All-State Wind Ensemble. They each participated in the PMEA Virtual Annual Conference from April 14th to 17th, 2021. To earn a place in the All-State Ensemble, Anika, Audrey, and Aaron participated in a series of virtual auditions, beginning with District 12 auditions in November 2020. The top members in that round were able to audition for the All-State Ensemble. The Pennsylvania Music Educators Association is a statewide nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the musical development of all Pennsylvanians. The organization promotes and supports quality music education, learning, and performance, as well as promoting and supporting music education in schools and communities. The Radnor High School Band and Orchestra are directed by Daniel Drew and Tatiana Osiak. The superintendent, along with the board and the Radnor community, congratulates these students, their parents, and teachers on their outstanding accomplishments. And as the mother and mother-in-law of 2 music teachers, I know that this is quite an accomplishment. So congratulations and welcome to our meeting. Oh, Mr. Drew, hello. It's great to see you. All righty. So thank you all very much. Let's see. And next up, we have our Radnor High School students qualify for the FBLA National Leadership Conference. Mr. Jubileer. I don't know if any of your students, Mr. Drew, did any of your students want to speak while we bring in the other students for recognition?
I don't know. They can go ahead, but I want to tell you how much you people miss live performances. I hear them play every day, and it's the most truthful thing. It's what keeps me going. And we had our first jazz concert live this past Friday. So just to hear them play every day, you're the people that are missing out. Hopefully, we're going to get back to it in September.
That's great. I remember being at the District 12 PMEA conference. Do you remember that, Mr. Drew, a few years ago?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And so I can, and it was amazing. So I can only imagine what the state ensemble sounded like. So congratulations all and welcome. All righty, Mr. Jubileer.
All right. 11 Radnor High School students recently qualified for the Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA, National Leadership Conference following strong performances in the Pennsylvania FBLA Virtual State Leadership Conference. The students who earned an automatic bid to the National Leadership Conference are Mr. Ryan Mofsowitz, Prabgun Oberoi, and Anna Ramesh in Marketing, Theodore He in Introduction to Financial Health, Nathaniel Jean, Benjamin Zhao, and Aaron Zhu in Network Design, Lauren Yu in Introduction to Business Procedures, and Angelika Chowan, Maru Fang, and Jungmin Amy Lee in Management Decision Making. The national event is being hosted virtually from Anaheim, California from June 29th to July 2nd. The Radnor students will participate in the 3-day program via Zoom. The mission of Future Business Leaders of America is to bring business and education together in a positive working relationship through innovative leadership and career development programs. Radnor FBLA is led by RES teacher and faculty advisor, Chip Horner. The superintendent, along with the board and the Radnor community, congratulates these students, their parents, and their teachers on this outstanding accomplishment. Congratulations.
Can we get some clarification? Somebody clearly shared her screen. Will the real Ms. Fung hold up her hand? There are 2 of you.
No, there's 3 of you. Who's
Oh my gosh, someone shared their link.
Who's the real Maru Fang? Raise your hand.
What was that old TV show? Well, the real.
I should be the real Maru.
Yeah.
Well, welcome all. Thank you. Mrs. Kevis must be very proud. I can't see if Mr. Horner is here. It was able to join us here tonight.
I don't see him, but yes, we are so proud.
That's great. That's what we need, future business leaders. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. And I do know that we'll have certificates and I think they'll be sent to you or we arrange to get your certificates to you all. So congratulations. All righty. We are going to be moving into the public comment portion of our evening. Bye, everybody. And at this time, the board shall provide an opportunity at each regular business meeting for eligible participants to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before the board prior to official action by the board. The board requires that public participants be residents, taxpayers, persons with of the district, or persons with a legal or contractual right to address the board, or persons recognized by the presiding officer as having a special interest such that addressing the board would be appropriate. We ask that eligible participants preface your comments with an announcement of your name and address. And during virtual meetings, you must provide your name, street address, and topic to be addressed. We ask that you limit your comments to not more than 4 minutes as per Board Policy 006. Should you be unable to attend this meeting, you may send your comments by email to boardcomments@rtsd.org or in writing to Mr. Michael Petiti, Radnor Township School District, 135 South Wayne Avenue, Wayne, PA 19087. Individuals who are interested in joining our meeting live may register on the website. There is a link that we ask you to join by 6 p.m. this evening. So with that, we will get underway with public comment. Ms. Gangle, do we have any live comment tonight? Or Mr. Petiti?
There are no live commenters registered.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Petiti, would you get underway with public comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Michael Lake, 783 Woodlea Road, Bryn Mawr. One size does not fit all. Choice is good. Opportunity is good. Competition is good. We all know this, but not all Radnor parents have the privilege to afford private school tuition like some of you do. VFMA offers something which RTSD does not. For some kids, this could be their last shot, while others may want to pursue a military career. I've worked closely with a few VFMA graduates in information technology. They're extremely focused, detail-oriented, and can follow direction with minimal guidance. 2 of the 3 said VFMA, their next stop might have been prison. Without VFMA, their next stop might have been prison. Public schools failed them. Luckily, their parents were able to come up with the tuition. Valley Forge Military Academy Charter School is offering an alternative to local parents at no cost to them and at a substantial cost savings per student to the school district. Besides the loss of control and revenue to the teachers union, where is the downside? It would be wonderful if this board would focus on increasing opportunities for this community and township residents rather than shutting things down along political lines and then passing the cost along to residents as if it is no big deal. Kelly Martin, 313 Edgehill Road, Wayne. Valley Forge has been a great asset and neighbor to Radnor. I appreciate their willingness to adapt and change to provide an opportunity to Radnor students and families for a great education at a considerably lower cost to our district and no cost to the families who choose Valley Forge over Radnor. This is a win-win for parents, students, in a rapidly expanding district. Our elementary schools are overcrowded now, and we have no plans for expansion. Radnor Elementary School was capped at 450 when it was built, and we currently have classrooms in pods with no windows and over 600 students occupying the building. Valley Forge's plan can help alleviate our space issue, and currently Radnor pays far more in tuition to other schools for students who need more than we can provide on an individual basis. For students who need or want a different learning environment, Radnor should be grateful for a partner right here in the district willing to take on these students at a cheaper rate than Radnor is paying per student in our own buildings. Valley Forge's campus is beautiful, and any of our students will be grateful for an education there. Please vote in favor of the Valley Forge Charter School application. Monica Whitcomb, 368 Rose Glen Drive. The residents of Radnor deserve a choice when it comes to their children's education. Currently, the only choice for Radnor residents is the Radnor public school system or expensive private and parochial schools. The Valley Forge Military Academy is offering an alternative right in our community. Why not approve it? There is no cost to the residents, and the upside is a choice for parents. Preston Tyrell, 21 Oakford Road, Wayne. I addressed the board meeting on May 4th, 2021, and incorrectly attributed a comment to Amy Goldman. The comment about summer's last hurrah was not made by Amy Goldman, but rather Nancy Monahan in the January 28th, 2020 meeting. I would like to apologize to Ms. Goldman for my mix-up in the names. Lexi McClatchy, 177 Brookleya Road. I'm writing yet again to ask the board to put a pause on the mascot discussion. A few members in the meeting a few weeks ago admitted that this process has not been completed with the diligence and time that it deserves. Why would further action be taken when the community clearly remains divided? There is still time to handle this in a better way. It is not too late. Please stop chasing a deadline that doesn't exist and allow our community a chance to breathe and reflect. Moving forward at this time and pushing agendas that many taxpayers and students disagree with will only continue to divide the community. Thank you for your consideration. Jennifer Carter, 205 St. David Court. I'm writing to ask that you pause the rebranding. Our community is torn over this decision, and rushing it through at the end of a tumultuous school year is unfair to the students, administration, and community. The cost of this project is still unclear, and the taxpayers deserve to know where the board plans to get the funds for this project. A decision to push the rebranding through to a contrived deadline will further divide the community. The rebranding should not be rushed just because the original process was flawed. Teresa Scott, Radnor High School alumni, class of 76, 5 Gray Court in Berwyn. It's time for the board to stop moving forward with their artificial deadline for the rebranding, renaming of Radnor's mascot. Taxpayers, residents counting 46,000 should have input into this process, as well as a full accounting of what this will cost the district and the taxpayer before the township moves forward. There has been overwhelming response from the taxpayers and the alumni, 17,000, regarding the board's handling of this entire matter, with a plea that the board should pause this vote and instead implement a process that allows all continents input. The board failed to take into consideration the NCAI offer to help educate our students about Native Americans. They need to stop the rebranding and form a plan that will educate the students and find compromise in the community. Elizabeth Sherry, Radnor High School alumni, class of 76, 100 Walnut Avenue, Wayne. Again, I am writing to you to reconsider moving forward at this time and in this contentious fashion with development and selection of a nickname for the Radnor schools. This project should have been shelved last year, not indefinitely, but only resurrected at a time and with a plan that was thoughtfully developed, one that is inclusive, township-wide, and based on established principles of research and brand name development. My understanding, after watching school board meetings and participating in a focus group, is that it's currently none of those things, merely moving forward with shallow trappings of research and development that appear too fast, too sloppy, and too divisive. Please table this initiative now. Peter Clark, 138 Wooded Lane, Villanova. This is my first time writing. I've tried to follow these proceedings as best I can through YouTube, though it's difficult with 2 little kids, both at rest, work, COVID, and coaching youth sports. This was always a wonderful community. My parents raised myself and my 5 siblings here, all Roland, Ethan, and RHS graduates. I've lived in Los Angeles and Philadelphia, but moved back to Radnor 8 years ago to raise my family and now live on the very street I grew up on. I want to thank you all for your time and dedication. It cannot be easy being front and center like you are weekly. The community appreciates your efforts. I've heard much discussion of compromise. However, when one compromises, there is give and take on both sides, where each comes out feeling like they may not have gained everything they wanted, but didn't give away everything either. Clearly, there's been little compromise here, as both the imagery and Raider name is gone. No one disputes the imagery side of this conversation, but many are upset with the removal of the Raider name. As best I can tell, the 9 board members made that decision alone, which brings me back to compromise. I've always thought high school was a coming of age period in one's life. You start to become an adult. As such, should we not treat our current high school kids as well as 8th graders in this manner? Let them decide. A true compromise will place the Raider name on the ballot and allow the kids to participate in the process. Regardless of outcome, it will be a great learning experience for them, understanding the skills of persuasion and argument, working through discord, conflict resolution, and most importantly, when it's over, know that even those who disagree with one another can all still be friends and cordial. I encourage you to reconsider your 6-3 vote and place the Raider name on the ballot so that these smart, hardworking, and well-adjusted students have the opportunity to participate in the process and affect change for or against the Raider rebranding. Karis Whitcomb, a Radnor High School junior. I'd like to share my opinion on how I feel about our choosing of a new mascot. I submitted these responses as comments in the latest survey we were asked to complete this morning, May 24th. I do not like any of them. If Raider was an option, I would have put 5, strongly agree for that one and that only one. Not only because Raider has the most history, the most support, and overall the clearest choice. Just because the Radnor School Board doesn't like it does not mean the student body should not be able to vote on it. This is completely inconsiderate and wrong, and I hope that none of these answers above are chosen. How embarrassing is this that you cannot let the people this is most affecting to vote for their own school? Well, I think I have made myself pretty clear how I said I am, that the school board will not consider the majority vote for the Raiders simply because they didn't like it. That is not how voting works. You are teaching these kids such upsetting life skills. What example are you setting? I do not even see how this is affecting the school board. Are they a senior this year? Do they have to cheer on their sports and play for a team in which they don't feel connected to? No, they are none of these things. So why are they deciding this for us? And then when they receive our honest answers and Raider is the most favored answer, they completely ignore it. Again, this is unfair. This school is always telling us to raise our voices and speak our opinion, but when I do, I am silenced because a group of adults simply do not care. This is what this feels like. This year has been hard enough. Please spare us and don't make it harder. It's the least you can do at this point. I'm okay with you sharing my answers in the next school board meeting, and I hope you do. I want them to know how disappointed I am. Margaret Finley Martin, 232 Barclayton Circle. Well, I am almost ready to throw in the towel regarding keeping the Raider name in Radnor. I hope you feel good about yourselves. You take away a 93-year tradition to appease a few residents who find the Raider name to be, quote, racist. Shame on the timing, lack of transparency, and dividing a community the way you have. A lot of thought and consideration went into the right way to keep the name and rebrand the mascot. Several board members seemed to want to revisit the mascot name, and that turned out to be a good thing. Speaking for myself, I noticed that things moving forward to the last board meeting, there was hope and appreciation towards the school board for revisiting the mascot name. The community seemed to be coming together because several were willing to listen. Thank you, Liz Duffy and Jeff Jubilee, for requesting the meeting. The motion to pause the decision is the right thing to do. The year 2020 has been the absolute disaster for so many families mentally, financially, and spiritually. What is the harm in pushing the pause button on the decision? This way it can be presented to all taxpayers the cost of, quote, rebranding. It is going to be expensive, and in Radnor Township we already have been hit with reassessment taxes. Radnor is a wonderful community. Take, for example, the ABC House. I love what this program does to help students from other areas obtain a quality, good education. We have had over the years since 1999 the pleasure of getting to know many of the ABC students. They are great young men and women. Why not put some of the rebranding money towards a Better Chance program? The USAF is even using the name Raider for the B-21 heavy bomber. Maybe we should have the mascot rebranded as a bomber that will not be confused as a Native American Indian. Think about this. It would prove that we are all capable of compromise. That is all we are asking for. As far as the Native American Indian goes, there have been many people in this community that are Native American and voiced that they are offended by people speaking in their behalf. My husband being one of them. Tim Metoxen, the son of Chief Emerson Metoxen, who is a Radnor Raider has-been himself, allowed us to share with the school board that he was not offended in any way, shape, or form about our mascot name being Raider with different imagery. His niece spoke out for the whole family. He was not part of that. I find it funny that hasn't been readdressed. It seems to be the only people that readdress it are the Von Rossum duo to say repeatedly that the niece of the Metoxen family feels that way. That is how she sees it, but that is not how her uncle Tim Metoxen sees it. Let's redress that. As Chip Addis has requested, along with Patty Lee, along with Kyle Addis, take 3 deep breaths and push the pause for the Raider button. That shows compromise, and that's what the school board is supposed to do because you were elected by the taxpayers to speak for the community, not for yourselves. Please listen to what the majority of the township is asking for, please. This doesn't need to be a rushed decision by June 29th in order to get a discount. Sincerely, Margaret Finley Martin. Kelly Martin, 313 Edge Hill Road, Wayne.
Ms. Martin already had a comment, Mr. Petiti, so you'll have to read that at the end of the evening.
Okay, thank you for reminding me. Kate Hart, 320 Meadowbrook Circle, Wayne. I'm writing to you tonight to ask you to press pause on the rebranding process. Lydia Solomon made a motion late in the last meeting to pause this process, and I thought it was a wise idea without the temporary branding added in. This community, which has identified as the Raider for almost 90 years, is scheduled to be renamed in just 35 days. Do you really think we are ready for that? I do not, for the following reasons. We do not have a full accounting of the cost. The taxpayers of Radnor have never been presented with an assessment of what this rebranding will cost. This includes all members of the community, including those that may not have a child in the school system. The taxpayers in Radnor have never been notified of where these funds will come from. We have a $3.6 million deficit and our taxes are being raised, but we are being forced to pay for a rebranding project that has not been fully vetted. When have we ever taken on a project of this scale without knowing a full accounting of the cost? We did not renovate Wayne Elementary School without knowing the costs. We did not change the start times of our schools without investigating the cost of transportation and before and after care for our students. We did not approve a stadium project without first determining the cost to the district. We did not approve full-day kindergarten without first investigating the financial implications. The June deadline is an arbitrary one that can be easily moved until more due diligence can be done. Another reason we are not ready to move forward is because there has not been adequate community discussion. This issue came to vote during the summer during a global pandemic. At the last meeting, many board members admitted the timing could have been better. I ask that you acknowledge that and pause this process until real in-person meetings can be held on this matter so you can properly gauge community sentiment. To date, our student body has not even been able to meet and discuss this issue in person. They gave feedback via a survey after watching a video when other members of the community were allowed to discuss the matter via Zoom calls and have conversations on the matter. We're trying to raise educated students that make responsible, thoughtful, and respectful decisions. A decision to rebrand a district without actual student discussion is not responsible, thoughtful, or respectful. A vote to pause this process does not mean you want to keep the Raider name. A vote to pause this process does not mean the Raider will return. A vote to pause this process only means that you acknowledge that more time needs to be given to this matter, that a full accounting of the cost to the district and the taxpayer needs to be done, and that students need time to discuss the options in a setting that allows for communication, reflection, and understanding. A vote to pause this process shows that you are a leader that makes responsible, thoughtful, and respectful decisions, the same types of decisions we expect from our children. Matthew Marshall, 2281 Walnut Avenue, Wayne. Please disclose the exact costs of the Radnor rebranding initiative. Could our tax dollars be better spent on education programming by the Radnor Township School District? 75% of Radnor's residents surveyed requested that we keep the Raider name and do away with the imagery. I wholeheartedly agree. We as taxpayers will remember this overstep of fiscal responsibility by the current school board members during the November election. Mary Beth Doyle, 507 Meadowbrook Circle. Hello, and thank you for taking the time to hear public comments. In every professional position I have held, the company for which I worked shared best practices as a way to achieve great results for both employees, employers, and customers. I'd like to share some best practices that I recently learned about with regards to school issues. Satterton School District successfully managed in-person schooling for the entire 2021 school year. Cumberland County School Board recently voted to make masks and vaccinations optional. Members of our community have already shared many examples of how schools have changed Native American imagery while keeping the Raider name. In all of these instances, the key success factor was that the people in the community worked together to achieve an outcome that benefited the community as a whole. The issue of the Raider name has engaged our community and is just one of the challenges we face that elicits different opinions. In dealing with these difficult issues, we have the opportunity to teach our children how to resolve differences through respectful actions and collaboration. There should not be any name calling, nasty social media posts or editorials, doxing, or insults thrown at someone who shares a different point of view. Frankly, I thought Radnor was better than that. So I urge the board to take a pause with regards to the Raider name, which has proven to be a very divisive issue during a very difficult time. As you've done with many other initiatives, such as the school sleep study and the comprehensive wellness study, take the time to obtain input from our many stakeholders, including alumni and Native American groups who are willing to provide their perspective. Let's achieve a resolution that respects the desires of the majority of our community. Cumberland County listened to and followed the wishes of their constituents, the quote hundreds of people who signed a petition to lift the mask mandate. In Radnor to date, 2,634 people signed a petition to keep the Raider name. Please follow the best practices demonstrated by other school boards and collaborate with all of your constituents towards what should be our common goal, following a fiscally responsible process to establish a mascot that our Radnor community can be proud of and unite behind. Chris Bolden, 120 Browning Lane, Bryn Mawr. Add the name Raider to the vote for students, Native American Radnor stakeholders, and the National Congress of American Indians have said the name alone is not offensive. Kyle Addis, 511 Askin Road. 20 days. That is the amount of time between the next rebranding meeting and the final approval by the school board. In fact, as it stands now, there are only 2 possible meetings for the committee to go from 8 nicknames down to 2 before the student vote. And not to mention, the committee has not once discussed possible imagery or logos associated with any nickname. How is that all supposed to happen over 2 meetings? The rebranding committee has not met since April 19th due to the high emotions, special board meetings, and hundreds of comments from the public. As a member of the committee, I have no idea what our next steps look like. I had no idea about the recent student survey or video produced by the committee chairs. Transparency seems to be a thing of the past in the Radnor School District led by you 9 school board directors. The committee is way behind schedule, yet you are all forcing this process onto the administration amidst end-of-the-year activities, vaccination clinics, proms, graduations, sports playoffs, and many other events throughout the district. Do you really think the administration wants to rebrand the entire school right now? How are students, teachers, and community members supposed to get excited about something that is being done in 20 days? Where is the in-person dialogue to discuss nickname and logo ideas? Where is the comprehensive research to ensure all of the 8 final names are not offensive? None of this is taking place because excitement, dialogue, research, and process are not of importance to any of you. Thank you all for taking a 90-year-old name, tradition, and community identity and rebranding it in 20 days. Hope you're all happy with the way you choose to lead and represent the Radnor School District. Stevie Gibbons Neff Bolden, 120 Browning Lane. To the members of the Radnor Township School Board, I'm struggling to understand that despite the statement of the NCAI expressing the word, quote, Raider is not racist, and even went so far as to generously offer educational support to the RTSD community, 6 members of the board will not permit the name Raider on the ballot. I'm struggling to understand how 6 members of the board refuse to pause the rebranding process. I'm struggling to understand how 6 members of the board want to continue the rebranding process with no accounting of what this will cost Radnor taxpayers and the RTSD. I'm struggling to understand that despite the enormous community response and support for the name Raider, and despite Native American support regarding the name Raider, and that there are so many more urgent pressing matters within our community that should be the school board's focus right now, 6 members of the board can still justify their choices and actions. How is that even possible? Paul Mallory, 248 Church Road, Devon, PA, class of 1965. I call upon the school board to pause their pursuit of eliminating the Radnor Raiders nickname. Already 3 board members have indicated their desire to have their Raiders nickname included with the possible nicknames. Plus, in November, there may be several more board members willing to include Raiders also. So it is foolish to forge ahead with an effort to eliminate the Raiders nickname, as was done at the September 2nd meeting, when the original vote was taken without considering the repercussions in the community and the alumni outrage. This change will be permanent and will affect a great number of people. And speaking of alumni, they, the students, and a great faculty have made Radnor the great school that it is today. The current school board is just temporary custodians of a great school system. I fail to see why the school board wants to create a new Radnor. I also think the students, alumni, and community should have a vote in coming up with a new school nickname. The students because they are attending Radnor now and have a vested interest. The alumni because they attended Radnor and have love and devotion for their alma mater. The community because they pay a lot of school taxes, which obviously gives them a say in what goes on at the school. The board should be non-partial and support the new nickname and recuse themselves from voting on a new nickname, especially since 8 of the 9 never attended Radnor. As for eliminating the Native American imagery, as far as I can see, it's gone. The only people who seem to be fixated on it and keep bringing it up are Maya and her daughter. They continue to bring it up at every school board meeting, even though no one has an issue with it. They also have an issue with the term Raiders, even though Dan Bechtel talked to the NCAI, National Congress of American Indians, and they had no problem with the term Raiders. So a pause should be in order as suggested at the last school board meeting. Mike Falcone, class of 74, 312 Joseph Drive, Westchester. As an alumnus, a longtime member of the Radnor Hasmans organization, and selected to participate on the rebranding committee, to say that I am disappointed and disgusted with the actions of many members of the board regarding the removal of the Raider name would be an understatement. Let's review some of the facts. Over 75% of those, quote, surveyed in February and March wanted to keep the Raider name. Yet the administrators of the rebranding committee, who, by the way, agreed to put out the survey, chose to ignore this and will not let the Raider name remain under consideration for the student vote. Over 75% of the letters and comments presented and read during the last 3 board meetings voiced support for keeping the Raider name, yet the majority of board members choose to continue to support the minority opinion. Where in a democratic society does the minority opinion override that of the majority? You had the opportunity to take a high road and realize that maybe the vote you made back in September was hasty and hadn't taken into consideration the input from a lot of the alumni and community members. At least 2 board members acknowledged such. You also had the opportunity to positively vote to accept the tremendous compromise solution presented by board members Duffy, Jubilee, or Monahan, yet you continued to support the minority opinion. Seems to me that those who voted against the motion forgot some of the key components of the code of conduct you all agreed to abide by when you took on the position as a board member. Engaging and promoting community support by seeking input, building support networks, and generating action. Leading with respect and taking full responsibility for board activity and behavior. Working together in a spirit of harmony and cooperation. Engaging all community stakeholders. Using data appropriately to make informed decisions. Promoting open, honest, and respectful dialogue among the board, staff, and community. When you took on this job, your duty was to work together to best represent the people who voted you into office and hear their voices and take into consideration their opinions, not override them with your own. In this regard, especially as it relates to the removal of the Raider name, you have failed. There's still time to mend the wounds you've created in the community and right the ship. Please, one last time, permit the name Raiders to be put on the ballot for the students to vote on. Alyssa Mazziata, 119 Aberdeen Terrace, Wayne. I understand that this is a volunteer position, and I commend you all for your service, as I am tired from just writing emails and making comments. It takes a lot of time from my actual job, so I can't even imagine volunteering for all of it. I read the 2021 financial budget. Nowhere on the budget is the cost for the rebranding, unless it is in the line item other expenditures and financing. That is a hefty line item and over $7 million to not be broken down. I also saw projected raises for salaries for the next 3 years, while many in the private sector haven't seen a raise in years and are out of work trying to recover from a pandemic. I wonder where you will all get that money from. It seems like you intend to raise taxes for at least the next 3 years per the projected budget and are willing to vote on the unnecessary rebranding of the Raider name at an unknown cost, and you want to talk about VFMA's financial mismanagement. Still, no one has heard what the cost will be for changing the Raider name, just a vague percentage that it will cost of some unknown number. A whole part of the community feels alienated and is just going to buy Raider gear from the internet, so not sure what is accomplished by that. You haven't changed a company that does financial audits of the district in a decade. You're supposed to switch auditing companies every 5 years at minimum. You handed our gym loan to Bank of Canada, and the taxpayers will be lining the pockets of investors who buy the bonds. I read the entire denial document of Valley Forge Military Academy Charter School, as well as watched the meetings. For my estimate, it will cost Radnor maybe $200K. If the estimate of 8 kids is correct from our township, at about $17K per kid minus administration fees. This number seems small and did no one do a cost analysis. If kids that currently get the district to pay for full tuition private school go to this charter, the total might cost not even be $200K. You write a 40-page document, but no numbers. I listened to a school district asked to deny VFMACs because it is less money for the school. Must I remind you that it is not the school's money, but the taxpayers. We could have a charter school option in our backyard that could help kids with different needs. I just had another heartbreaking conversation with another mom of an ADHD child who just needs more structure, and the school denied it to her in the 504. Yes, cost is barrier for many of these families. They don't care about librarian staffing or that their child might see a chapel. I do agree they should have filed to TE, but that was the point you should have just stopped at because your agenda was apparent from the rest of the document. I read the take on my comment on the VFMA denial letter, which is an absolute lie. I'd like to know who wrote that, and I want it fixed. You are misrepresenting me completely. You twisted my comment to fit your narrative. I absolutely understand the difference between a charter school and a private school. I have corresponded to the individuals at VMFA about the charter school prior, so to say I don't understand the difference is categorically incorrect. I have corresponding dated documentation to provide otherwise, so you can definitively be proven wrong in what you wrote. Why would anyone say they are committing to enroll in VMFACA if no one knows it is a viable option? Why are we writing about VMFA's financial mismanagement? Should we not be addressing our own? After all of this, I am super confused who the school board serves. And that is the last comment that came in before the meeting, Ms. Stern.
Okay, thank you so much. All righty, we are going to get underway with our committee reports. Curriculum committee report, Ms. Solomon.
Thank you very much. The curriculum committee met on May 11th, 2021 at 5 p.m. On your agenda tonight are several items within the consent agenda that came through committee. They include the award of the Crescent Scholarship, the award of the Dreer Scholarship, what's already been mentioned tonight, which was the acceptance of the Radnor Education Foundation grant, the K-8 device insurance contract. I'm not sure, is that on this agenda?
It was supposed to be.
Yeah, okay, so that, thank you, Susan. The approval of the Microsoft Surface Pro Go laptops, the Naviance contract, and the Schoology contract, sorry. There was a request for a student survey that was presented to us, and the proposed new clubs at the high school. Our agenda included a discussion of the curriculum review cycle, which is also on your agenda tonight. And then we received a presentation about the proposed cyber program for the district. And our next meeting will be June 18th, I believe. Am I right?
I think it's the 20, I think it's maybe the.
It's the 22nd at 5 p.m.
Yeah, you know what? It's the 22nd. Excuse me. It will be at 5 p.m. on June 22nd. Thank you.
And Ms. Solomon, the insurance for the iPads and Chromebooks is on the agenda.
Yeah,
It's on the
thank
consent
you.
agenda. All righty, next up we have the Facilities Committee.
Good evening. The Facilities Committee meeting this month, our work has actually already been covered by the board. In our special meeting, we approved, we gave provisional approval for 2 change orders, which together actually lowered the cost. We were able to find savings in getting some more local products and more locally engineered products, a savings of $131,000. And we will in future months be providing a chart so the board can keep track, the Facilities Committee and the board can keep track of what change orders are coming in on the project. We're just kind of monitoring all of that, and our next meeting will be June 22nd at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Finance Committee, Mr. Moore.
The Finance Committee met on May 4th. It was a virtual meeting. On your agenda tonight, there are 2 priority action items for a roll call vote. That's the Delaware County Community College general operating budget and the reappointment of the trustees for the community college. On the consent agenda, we have the customary financial reports and disposals at items 11.01 and 11.04. There are 2 contracts that were discussed at the Finance Committee meeting that are 2 of the several contracts that you see under agenda item 11.03. One of them is for Phoenix ABA Therapy, and that's for behavioral and education support. One is for GHR Education, and that's for nursing and education support services. Both of those contracts would begin in the spring. I believe one begins today and one begins in June. And those provide the district student services office and the human resources offices in terms of nursing with additional options at potentially lower cost for the provision of those services. There are also 2 elections at items 11.06 and 11.07. We are electing our board treasurer, and Penny Tansey is expected to be elected as the treasurer for the upcoming school year. We are also electing the board secretary. Michelle Deco will be elected to a 4-year term. We are aware that Ms. Deco has retirement plans that are coming up this fall, and so a successor can be appointed upon her retirement, but it is under school code that election is for a 4-year term. In addition, at the Finance Committee, we discussed providing information on how people can calculate the change in their taxes just as a result of the court-ordered reassessment. And indeed, if you go to the school district website, look under Business Administration, School Tax Office, there is a calculator where you can take the reassessment letter that you got, enter your old assessment, you can enter your new assessment and see how much your taxes are changing just as a result of the county ordered assessment before the school district takes any action on whether we'll be raising taxes or not as we discuss the budget. So I'd certainly encourage anyone to take a look at that calculator. I know the business administration has been fielding a number of questions from residents about that reassessment. Mentioning the budget, we have to pass the budget. We have to pass a budget this year. In fact, I'd say passing a budget and appointing a superintendent are probably the 2 main things school boards do. We have budget meetings on June 1st and June 15th at 7 p.m. And the next finance meeting will be June 8th at 6 p.m. As I sit here, I do not know if those will be in-person or virtual meetings.
You
Thank
get some
you.
ice cream?
I was going to ask for an ice cream sandwich, actually. So
I know.
Here, I'd serve you some. You're all welcome to it. Enjoy the Johnson.
Yeah, it's great. Policy Committee report, Ms. Goldman.
Okay, thank you. I don't have as entertaining music in the background. It's just my voice. So the Policy Committee met on Tuesday, May 4th, which at this point seems like a long time ago. So I'll review quickly what the items on tonight's agenda are based on that Policy Committee meeting. Item 14.01 on our agenda consists of several policies that are before the board for first reading tonight. Policy 218.4 is called Discipline of Student Convicted of Adjudicated Sexual Assault or Adjudicated of Sexual Assault. This is a new policy that was recommended by our solicitor to be drafted to comply with the provisions of Pennsylvania's Act 110, which was passed in 2020. Another policy on for first reading is Policy 200, Enrollment in District. This policy was selected for review in order to ensure consistency with the aforementioned policy I just spoke to, and more specifically, to ensure that the parental registration statement required at enrollment as contemplated in Policy 218.4 was properly reflected in Policy 200. Also up for first reading tonight is Policy 209, Health Examinations. This policy was selected for review and revision in order to incorporate the requirements of Pennsylvania Act 122 of 2020. Act 122 amended various school code provisions regarding vision screenings and examinations of students. Agenda item 14.02. These are policies before the board for second reading. Policy 217 is graduation requirements, and it was identified for revision based on the recent changes that the board approved regarding physical education credit requirements for graduation for the 2020-21 school year. Also up for a second reading is Policy 253, eligibility for participation in school-related activities. This policy was reviewed in conjunction with the repeal, which I'll get to in a moment, of Policy 140.1. A purpose section was added during the review process, and some other minor non-substantive revisions were made. And last but not least, up for a second reading is Policy 114, Gifted Education. This policy was reviewed in order to complete the review of the district's special education related policy review. An administrative regulation was created, and much of the substantive guideline language that was previously located in the policy was transferred to the administrative regulation. The third item on the agenda is 14.03. This policy is before the board for a second reading to repeal, and that's Policy 140.1, extracurricular participation by charter/cyber charter students. This policy is being recommended by the solicitor for repeal, as its content is already addressed in Policy 253, which I just mentioned is up for a second reading and adoption tonight. I want to thank also the policy committee because we've covered a lot of material very efficiently over the past few months. So I want to thank you all for your diligence and your efficiency so that we can get this important work done. The next policy committee meeting will be on Tuesday, June 8th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. And now we have Government Relations and Communications Committee report. Dr. Babson.
Good evening. So very short report. We did not meet on May 11th. We had a special meeting that night, but we do have a meeting scheduled for June, Tuesday, June 8th at 7 p.m.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, we are moving into our priority action discussion item. And the first up is item 8.1, which is the charter school application from Valley Forge Military Charter School. And the recommended action is that the board approve and adopt as presented the proposed adjudication prepared by the district administration and the solicitor denying the charter school application of the Valley Forge Military Charter School. So at this time, I would entertain a motion and a second. I have a motion from Ms. Duffy and a second from Ms. Solomon. All righty, I think what I'm going to do at this point is turn this over to Dr. Batchelor. And thank you, Dr. Batchelor.
Yep, thank you, Ms. Stern. The administration and the board has had an opportunity through the hearings and application to review the application. The attached adjudication summarizes the reasons for the administrative recommendation moving forward. I will turn it over to our solicitor, Mr. Christofko, to just share a summary of some of that information. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Christofko.
Thank you, Dr. Batchelor. Early on, as soon as this application was received by the school district, the board tasked the administration and myself with forming a recommendation on whether the application submitted by the Valley Forge Military Charter School would meet the requirements of the charter school law and board policy 140. In this case, public hearings were held on March 24, April 28, and May 12. And after thoroughly reviewing the application materials and the information learned through the hearing process, the administrative review team and myself have prepared a proposed adjudication for the board's consideration tonight, which sets forth the reasons why we are recommending that the board deny the charter school application. So what I'm going to do is to briefly touch on the 8 principal reasons why there is a recommendation for the board to deny the charter school application. The first reason is that the Valley Forge Military Charter School failed to apply as a regional charter school and also failed to apply to the Tredyffrin Easttown School District Board. Under the law, any charter school which is physically located in more than one school district is considered a regional charter school, and there's a separate application process for that, which includes applying to every school district in which it will be located. In this case, the charter school application and the hearing process both disclose that the charter school is going to be physically located on the Valley Forge Military Academy campus, which is spread across both Chester and Delaware counties. Additionally, the application and the hearing process indicated that the charter school planned to use numerous parts of that campus, which are located in Tredyffrin Township, Chester County. And because of the legal requirement, it was pointed out to the applicant that they failed to properly apply as a regional charter school, and they were given the opportunity to withdraw and refile correctly, and they chose not to proceed in that way. So as such, that's the first reason, which is a procedural reason why the application should be denied. The second reason is that the application materials and the hearing process disclose that the Valley Forge Military Charter School is not an independent charter school. The law requires that the charter school itself be an independent entity, and as clearly evidenced throughout the application and 3 hearings, there is really no distinction between the Valley Forge Military Charter School and the Valley Forge Military Academy. The private academy representatives presented the application. They're the ones that prepared the application. They made the decision to create the charter school, and they testified in support of the charter school application to this board. In fact, every or virtually every single answer to every question about how the charter school was going to operate and how they were going to comply with various issues under the law were answered not by members of the Charter School Board of Trustees, but by representatives of the Valley Forge Military Academy, who indicated that they, on paper, have no relationship to the charter school whatsoever. The application indicates that the charter school is being formed so that students who cannot afford the military academy tuition can attend a school which is identical to the military academy and located on the same campus. The charter school is going to use the same educational model as the military academy. The charter school is going to share employees with the military academy and the military college, also located on the same grounds. And the testimony also revealed that the founding board of the Valley Forge Military Charter School would not really have the true authority to make educational decisions for the charter school, but rather those decisions would be made by the personnel who run the Valley Forge Military Academy. The third reason is that the Valley Forge Military Charter School doesn't comply with the charter school law regarding the requirements for non-sectarianism. It is going to be financially supported by the foundation, which has a religious purpose. It was formed by the Valley Forge Military Academy, which has a sectarian purpose, and will be located upon and utilize a campus that includes a chapel. The fourth reason is that the Valley Forge Military Charter School failed to show that it has sustainable support. They failed to show that any students will enroll in year one. There wasn't a single bit of support by anyone indicating that they intended to send their child to the charter school in its first year of operation. Additionally, the community raised serious concerns regarding the Valley Forge Military Charter School's adoption of the military culture, the allegations of mistreatment of cadets, including hazing, bullying, and sexual abuse, which have appeared in the paper. The Valley Forge Military Charter School refused to answer questions about those, and the charter school failed to provide any evidence to show that it's actually being supported by the local IU representatives, as the application indicates. Additionally, the fifth reason is that the Valley Forge Military Charter School failed to establish that it's properly planned to provide a comprehensive learning experience to students. There were numerous contradictions between what was presented in the various hearing sessions and what's in the application, indicating that the whole plan was not well thought out and that decisions were being made off the cuff. Additionally, the curriculum was quite lacking. The application indicated that the charter school's curriculum would be derived from the military academy's curriculum. However, large parts of the curriculum were not developed. And in specific, when they were asked why the Valley Forge Military Charter School submitted the English language arts curriculum based on Pennsylvania Learns Online, which is actually identified by PDE as only a supplemental, remedial, or review type of resource, the response was that the goals for those documents was to start identifying or providing a framework for the curriculum as it gets built. That's a pretty stunning admission that at the time the application is being presented for review by the board, that there is no English language arts curriculum that's already in place or that's already been planned out. The charter school did the same thing for the math curriculum in certain areas. They did not submit any written curriculum guides for science for grades 6 through 12, and they had no social studies curriculum at all for grade 6. A number of the documents that were also submitted in support of the charter school application lack state standards or list standards that are not from the Pennsylvania Department of Education or do not adhere to the Pennsylvania core and academic standards. There was lack information provided with respect to student services. There was an inadequate library plan, no comprehensive student assistance program. There was not a plan for technological infrastructure. The special education programs were lacking as far as administration and teachers to support the students with special needs. The charter school indicated that they had plans to contract out for 12 different services. However, they didn't properly budget for those 12 services that they planned to contract out for the large number of special education students they were projecting to have enroll. There were no research-based programs for students with special needs in areas such as social skills or life skills. And there was no viable plan to provide any sort of restraint training of students or risk assessments of students. There was no adequate plan for English as a second language students or program. The budget failed to account for substantial costs, including all of the staff and teachers needed for special education and all of the programs and services needed for special education. The application also, as the sixth reason for denying it, failed to include all of the required information necessary under the charter school law. There were 7 different areas which are spelled out in the proposed adjudication where the application is lacking of the specific information that the charter school law requires be included in the application. And the 7th reason would be that it fails to conform to the legislative intent of the charter school law. And in this point, there are 6 areas that that set forth what the legislative intent are in the charter school law. They are to improve pupil learning, increase learning opportunities for all pupils, encourage the use of different and innovative teaching methods, create new professional opportunities for teachers, including the opportunity to be responsible for the learning program at the school site, provide parents and pupils with expanded choices in the types of educational opportunities that are available within the public school system, and hold the schools established under the act accountable for meeting measurable academic standards, and provide the school with a method to establish accountability systems. In each of these particular areas, there were deficiencies. Most of them stem from the fact that they had no plan for how to improve pupil learning or to increase learning opportunities for all pupils. And at best, the curriculum that they were discussing was designed to just meet the bare minimums of the state standards, not provide any sort of new and innovative methods of teaching or learning opportunities for students. And finally, the last reason for why we determined that the charter school application should be denied is it failed to show how it will serve as a model to other public schools, which is one of the requirements a charter school must meet in order to be eligible to be established in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. First, they failed to demonstrate how the military culture would serve as a model for other public schools. They refused to answer questions about the problems associated with the military culture of the private academy, and they failed to explain how having the military culture in a charter school would enhance or serve as a model for future public schools. They also failed to demonstrate how it could be used as a model for other schools in terms of its educational programming, since much of what they were talking about was really educational programming that was either not completely developed in terms of its curriculum, or educational programming that really just tried to track the minimum requirements under the school code. So for these reasons, which are spelled out in great detail in the document, the administrative review team and myself recommend that the board adopt the proposed adjudication and deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Petiti. Mr. Christofko, I'm sorry. I'm reading, the two Michaels are right next to each other. Sorry, Mr. Christofko. Dr. Batchel, I don't know if you have any further comments or thoughts?
No further comments at this time.
All right, thank you. I don't know if we have any questions or comments. Okay, well, I would like to thank the administration, Dr. Batchelor, I know Mr. Bechtold and our other administrators, really, Ms. Waldman, really worked hard on this. And, we spent our 3 nights in the hearings, and I thank everyone for participating. I thank everyone for their public comment. And if we don't have any comment or board discussion at this time, I will call the vote. So all those
Ms. Stern, this is a roll call.
Oh, that's right, Ms. Deco. Thank you so much. That the recommended action is that the board approve and adopt as presented the proposed adjudication prepared by the district administration and the solicitor denying the charter school application of the Valley Forge Military Charter School. So Ms. Deco, if you would run the roll call. Thank you.
Ms. Stern.
Aye.
Ms. Goldman.
Aye.
Dr. Babson.
Aye.
Ms. Duffy.
Aye.
Ms. Dunn.
Aye.
Mr. Jubileer.
Aye.
Ms. Monahan.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Ms. Solomon.
Yes.
The motion carries 9-0.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deco. I guess hang on nearby because there's another roll call vote, I believe, coming. All right, thank you all very much. The next item is 8.2, the Delaware County Community College General Operating Budget 2021-2022. And the recommended action is that the board approves the Delaware County Community College General Operating Budget for the fiscal year 2021-2022 in the amount of $90,378,107, with the Radnor Township School District share being also approved in the amount of $1,480,412. I don't know if we have anybody presenting tonight or any questions. Ms. Solomon, I know that you are our liaison to Delaware County Community College. If you have any information or anything you'd like to share.
Well, I think because of the pandemic, and I don't know, there hasn't been a lot of communication with the liaison committee this year. Our January meeting was not scheduled. They just sent information out. And then our spring meeting in April was canceled. So the liaison committee is not, we haven't been provided with anything more than really what's been sent to all of you with regard to their budget. So I can't, unfortunately, offer any really more information. I did contact the administration over at the college today to get some information about enrollment and some more information about the trustees that are on, that we're going to be voting on tonight. So if anybody wants that information, I can quickly forward it to you. They did respond very quickly back to me with those specific questions. So that's all I've got.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about that, just briefly?
Oh, that just that their enrollment was down this year, but that it is picking up already for spring. And they usually, when we meet, they describe how the community college enrollment always goes up when the economy is doing poorly. It goes in reverse, basically, of the economy. When the economy is doing well, the enrollment goes down. I don't know why for the pandemic we didn't see the same trend that has always been in place. So I haven't had an opportunity to ask that, but they are hoping that enrollment will go back up for the summer term and hopefully going into the fall. And with regard to the trustees, I received their long version of their bios. If anybody needs any more information, all of them have already been on, have been trustees, have been voted in as trustees, some of them for many years.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Solomon. Ms. Deco, I don't think that we have any further presentation or anything, do we? We got the budget, we were able to review it.
So we do not have another further presentation. So if we have a motion in a second, I can call the roll call vote.
Alrighty, I don't know if there's any board comment or discussion. Okay, why don't you go ahead then? Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? Ms. Solomon, have they given you indication that they're going to be having the board liaisons meet?
So I'm hoping, we always have the school board appreciation dinner in the fall. I'm hoping that now with the pandemic waning, that they will be able to resume that. And then the liaison committee typically meets after that. So that meeting obviously didn't occur in 2020, the fall of 2020. I'm also hoping they reinstate the January meeting instead of just send out information. And they did schedule the spring liaison committee meeting during the spring break for the public schools. So I think that's why they ended up canceling it, because a lot of people were away. So they're now aware to check that the liaison committee people will be available for the week they schedule, hopefully the spring committee meeting. So yes, I'm very hopeful that we can avoid, I won't call it avoid, that I'm very hopeful there will be resumed communication on the liaison committee next year.
So can I ask you a more pointed question? Are you comfortable supporting this budget without having had that kind of information?
I asked that question of the administration over at the community college today. Yes, they have provided as much detail, they did send lots of information over to me that supports the programs that they have. So yes, although it is a lot of money, and it's definitely worth all of you asking questions about it all the time, because we're one of the top supporting districts.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
Ms. Solomon, do you know, or anyone, what we allocated last year, 2021, 2020, 2021 school year, and the percentage increase, if there is such an increase for next year?
So we used to get all that, and it's probably in the information that I have, but I don't know it right off the top of my head. They had been sticking to a 0% budget about 5 years ago, percent increase rather. I believe now they're in the range of the Act 1 increase in their budget, but maybe Ms. Deco can help me out. It is in the information that they sent, but I don't have it right on the.
All that it's flat for us. I don't count me on that, but I recall that it was a flat from last year.
It is pretty flat. Actually, I had a slightly different question because I read Misty.
So
go
our
ahead.
percentage remains the same because the percentage of the sponsoring school districts is the same, but so.
Well, that actually gets to my question that I was surprised to see with the reassessment, and Ms. Deco, maybe you know this, with the reassessment throughout the county, I was surprised that Radnor's proportional share didn't change. That was that it didn't change dramatically, but maybe it did, and it's set to take effect next year. I don't know.
So the community college is a little bit different because instead of assessed value, it's based on market value. So I apologize. I believe that when we did the finance committee meeting, we had all the information about the percentage of last year versus this year. I do not see it on this board agenda. So I do apologize about that. And I don't have that information with me to be able to pull it up quickly to give you that.
Okay, thank you. But again, so I think maybe they've been adjusting market value all along so that maybe if they've been adjusting market value all these past 20 years since the last court appointed or court ordered reassessment, then maybe our market value has stayed more steady.
And maybe in the fall, and I'll lean on Ms. Solomon for this and others, but and Michelle, but in the fall we could spend some time just looking at what is our obligation, because really this is an obligation that we entered into, that we are bound by an agreement that's predates all of us, and it is something that was as part of the creation and the development of a community college, and our Radnor being a supporting school district in the county with the community college. So maybe every year there's additional questions. It might be good to take time outside of the actual budget approval and really look at the history of that agreement and our responsibility as part of that agreement as well. And we could schedule something like that in the fall, Michelle, if that would make sense to you, something we could do maybe in finance.
We can, and I just pulled this up really quickly. If you look at the attachment that you received for the Delaware County Community College, and you flip to page 12.
Yep.
There's a comparison there between last year and this year, what our certified market value was and our new certified market value, columns A and columns D. So it has increased slightly. And so what we are seeing is our total sponsorship going from 1 million, almost 1.5 million to it's 1,461,000 to 1,480,000. So it's an increase of about $80,420.
Right, and that's what I was referencing when I was looking
at 18,000. Forgive me.
Yeah, it's 18,000 in column G.
Yeah, correct. So it's very comparable to what we've been paying in the past.
All righty. And thank you, Dr. Batchelor. That's a great suggestion. And I do know that I had occasion to speak to their business administrator about maybe 6 weeks ago in connection to a letter he had sent me for signature. And I did express to him, Ms. Solomon, thank you for writing to them today, because I did express to them some similar feedback that, we really want to be, we want to be more engaged. We want to be kept abreast of things. And so I'm hoping that as things settle down with the pandemic, that it will allow us to re-engage and in a more meaningful, kind of hands-on way. That would be great.
I should also say, remember, they're doing a major project there.
Right.
They purchased another campus and basically, doing a huge expansion in the Upper Darby area. So it definitely warrants, it's an organization that's on the move. So it definitely warrants, a us being involved for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so with that, Ms. Deco, I think you have to run the roll call vote.
I think Mrs. Deco was saying we didn't have a motion and a second yet.
You're muted.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I would entertain a motion and a second on this item. Alrighty, a motion from Ms. Dunn and a second from Ms. Solomon. Ms. Deco, do you want to run the roll call then?
Yes, Ms. Stern,
Aye.
Ms. Goldman,
Aye.
Dr. Babson,
Aye.
Ms. Duffy,
Aye.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Jubileer,
No.
Ms. Monahan,
I don't
Ms.
think I
Mon-
heard you.
Did you hear me? Sorry, I said aye.
Ms. Moore, or I'm sorry, Mr. Moore.
I'll still vote aye either way.
I apologize. Ms. Solomon.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then our third item, that's also a roll call vote, is a reappointment of the trustees of the Delaware County Community College Board of Trustees. And the recommended action is that the board votes and reappoints James P. Gaffney, Cynthia Jetter, Michael Rank, and Raymond Toto as the trustees of the Delaware County Community College Board of Trustees. Is Ms. Deco, I know that we've talked about this before. Is this a situation where it's kind of a package deal, or we run a roll call vote on each one of these appointees?
From my understanding, it's a roll call vote, but if you want to run a package deal, we can do that. You're just going to need to give me 1 second so I can split the candidates.
No. I mean, that's what I mean to say. Ms. Solomon, do you want to weigh in?
No, I think that you're not talking about the same thing. I think Ms. Stern is asking, do we vote for all four at once, or do we vote for each one separately?
Do you have to run
In a
4
roll
different
call
roll call
vote.
votes?
In a
That's
roll
the
call
question.
vote.
It is one roll call vote according to the documents I received from
That's
the
okay.
Delaware County Community College.
So it's a slate, basically. It's a roll call vote for the slate. Okay, great. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any board comment or questions here?
If Ms. Solomon has anything to contribute here too, I think her insights would be helpful.
So again, these 4 individuals have all been on the liaison committee. I mean, excuse me, not the liaisons. They are the trustees. They are running the show. Wrong term. These are the trustees. Many of them have been on for, I mean, some of them almost 30 years, but all of them are, I believe, have been on before.
Okay.
So they are up for re-election.
Thank you. I would entertain, did I take a motion and a second? I'm trying to write on the board. I did not. I will take a motion and a second on this slate. A motion from Ms. Duffy and a second from Ms. Solomon. Thank you. All righty. And Ms. Deco, if there's no board comment or questions, then we can run the roll call.
Ms. Stern,
Yes.
Ms. Goldman,
Yes.
Dr. Babson, Dr. Babson,
Aye. Sorry.
Ms. Duffy,
Yes.
Ms. Dunn,
Aye.
Mr. Jubileer,
Aye.
Ms. Monahan,
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Solomon.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move into our consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussions on these items. So with the consent of all board members, they are therefore grouped and approval is given in one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any items, the board president will move it to an appropriate place on the agenda. So at this time, do we have any items that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda?
Yes,
Yes,
I'd
Ms.
like to
Goldman.
pull item 10.03.
10.03, okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I need to pull, hold on, I'm switching back and forth. I need to pull item 11.05.
Okay, let me just circle both of those quickly. 11:05. Okay, oh, great, okay. And 10.03. So with that, we will, 10.03, right, great, thank you. Right, Ms. Goldman, thank you so much. Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion and a second for items 10.01 through 16. I think it's, I just did roll down to the end here, 16:01.
So moved.
Absent items 10.03 and 15.
No, 11.
11:05, thank you.
So
All right,
moved.
so a motion from Lydia and a second from Ms. Goldman. All those in favor? And the consent agenda passes 9-0. So let's see, Ms. Goldman, you wanted to pull 10.3.
Yes, I noticed a typo in part of the minutes, so I'd like to pull it, address it being fixed, and then have it come back to the next board meeting for approval.
Okay, so we're just going to pull those and table them to next month.
Yes, thank you.
You know what, Mr. Christofko, do I need a motion? I don't need a motion to pull those, right? We just don't approve them.
Yeah, you just don't move them because they haven't been moved yet. So you
Great.
just not move them.
Perfect. Thank you for the reminder. All righty. And then item 11.05, Lydia, you pulled that and I know the reason. So
Yeah, I need to abstain from this vote.
Yep. So at this time, I would entertain a motion and a second for item 11.05, which is the appointment of the Delaware County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors. And the recommended action is that the board approves the appointment of Edward Cardo, M. Colleen Powell, Hillary Fletcher, Rachel Mitchell, and Lawrence Kudis to serve on the Delaware County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors for a term commencing July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
And a second? A second from Mr. Moore. Thank you. And let's see, I don't know if there's any board discussion or not. Okay, all those in favor? Please raise your hand and say aye. All those opposed? 0. And any abstentions? Ms. Solomon, yes, so thank you. So that motion passes 8-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you, Lydia. And with that, we will move into our board liaison reports. And first up is Delaware County Community College.
No further report.
Great, thank you. Delaware County Intermediate Unit, Ms. Goldman.
Yes, the DCIU board met on Wednesday, May 5th for its monthly business meeting. Some of the subjects covered were the preliminary consolidated 2021-22 budget, the proposed 2021-22 business meeting and committee meeting dates, the draft committee meeting agendas for June, and the Delaware County Technical School senior recognition events that were supposed to take place and now have taken place on May 19th and 20th. I wanted to mention that Radnor had 28 Delaware County Technical School students who were part of the senior recognition, and the recognition ceremony is available to be seen on the DCIU YouTube channel tomorrow night at 7 o'clock if anyone's interested. So, and a congratulations to the Radnor High School seniors who were recognized for their Delaware County Technical School accomplishments. As mentioned earlier in our meeting, the DCIU, in collaboration with Delaware County's Right to Education Local Education Task Force, hosted the Making a Difference award ceremony that honored, among others, Mr. Pittman. The DCIU board also met on Wednesday, May 12th for its monthly committee meetings, and the subjects covered included proposed revisions to about a dozen policies, proposed staffing modifications for the comprehensive applied behavior analysis, proposed staffing and program modifications to DCIU's Teacher Resource Center and print shop. There were updates on the Head Start Policy Council bylaws and the eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment criteria for Head Start. And there were also updates on the upgrades to the Sharon Hill and Marple campuses. The next DCIU board meetings will be June 2nd for the business meeting and June 9th for the committee meetings.
Thank you. Delaware County School Board's Legislative Council. Mr. Moore?
The Legislative Council met on Wednesday, May 12th. That was a virtual meeting. Pending legislation, reform proposals, and the governor's budget were discussed. In addition, the Legislative Council hosted a legislative breakfast on Friday, May 21st. A number of representatives from our school district were there: Mrs. Goldman, Mrs. Stearns, Mrs. Duffy, myself, and Dr. Batchelor, I believe, also attended. Among the legislators in attendance were our U.S. Representative, Mary Gay Scanlon, 3 different state senators whose districts include part of Delaware County, Tim Carney, Amanda Capoletti, and John Kane. 6 different state representatives attended, including the 2 whose district includes Radnor, Jen O'Mara and Greg Vitale. What school districts have been facing with the pandemic and particular ideas for what legislation may be coming down the pike that could continue to impact school districts were discussed at great length. I want to thank all of the attendees from Radnor who were able to come. You may know from these reports and our PSBA reports, it seems like there are a number of these events. We host our own legislative breakfast in Radnor. There's a Pennsylvania School Boards Association legislative breakfast. We continue with this legislative council event. Relationships matter. When these legislatures see that school directors representing their communities come to these events time and again, articulate stories, specific stories about what's going on in the districts and how the actions that legislatures and the governor take in Harrisburg affect our communities, it does make a difference. And so I'm thankful everyone who took time out of their schedule for that event. Coming up next for I believe it is the last Legislative Council meeting of the year, is Wednesday, June 9th. And a special extra recognition to Mrs. Goldman, one of the co-chairs of Legislative Council. I know she certainly puts a great deal of effort into planning these events. So we are all very appreciative of that.
Thank you. Pennsylvania School Boards Association. Mr. Moore?
Continuing the theme, when we think about events like the PSBA Advocacy Day, there's a platform that the PSBA platform committee essentially discusses based on input from school districts, and then comes up with a process to come to some kind of consensus or voting on what will PSBA advocate for the year, what will be their legislative priorities. Interestingly, coming up until July 23rd, I believe it is, school districts have an opportunity to provide input on what that legislative platform should look like. Seeing all of the energetic faces on the board meeting today, realizing people have very little on their plates at this time, I think that's, if any school board members are interested in talking with me about what that would look like for Radnor to submit something as an idea for a platform, that's something that I could receive if there's interest in it, and perhaps talk to our GRCC committee chairs. And if there's no interest in it, it's something to keep in mind for future years. So just wanted to highlight there. You can read about the legislative platform process on the PSBA website. And as a reminder, the All School Directors Monthly Exchange, a networking opportunity, continues this month. It's June 17th at 12:30 p.m. If any of you would like to join that discussion to hear about what school districts are facing, what our colleagues in other districts would like to say about their own experiences.
Thank you very much. Let's see, Parks and Recreation, who's giving the report tonight? Dr. Babson, go ahead.
So Ms. Dunn and I did not attend the monthly meeting on May 13th due to a board commitment. So there's no report tonight. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 10th at 6:30.
Thank you. Radnor Educational Foundation, Ms. Duffy.
Is there the REF's annual meeting is this Thursday, May 27th at 7 p.m. It is open to the public, and you can register for the meeting on their website, the radnoreducationalfoundation.org. And once you register, they'll send you a link via email. The REF is also hiring. They're looking for a foundation administrator to manage their day-to-day operations. They have more information on their website if anyone's interested in a part-time position. And they are always looking for volunteers to help with fundraising, event planning, marketing, and to sit on the grants committee. So please contact Ted G. Brennan at tedgbrennan@radnoreducationalfoundation.org if you'd like to learn more. That's
Thank
it.
you. Radnor High School Scholarship Fund, Mr. Jubileer.
Yes, the Radnor High School Scholarship Fund met on May 17th virtually, where we learned that 19 students, graduating seniors, were chosen to receive named scholarships. In total of $41,250. The average scholarship for this coming year will be $2,171. And they generally range between $1,500 and $2,500 a year for 4 years. So that's a lot of numbers, but we're thrilled that 19 students were chosen, and they're going to a variety of different post-secondary educational institutions. There will be some sort to be determined still yet of a presentation. It's still being worked out, probably June 14th, in advance of the senior night presentations from Radnor High School.
Okay,
Next
great.
meeting, that'll be the next meeting as well, in some sort of shape.
Super. Thank you so much. Let's see, Radnor Page, Ms. Dunn.
Yes, we have not had a specific page meeting, but I did want to flag for parents of gifted students or parents who are interested in the gifted program that the administration did actually host a meeting for parents of gifted students earlier this month. And a link to that meeting has been posted on the district's YouTube website. You can actually access it through, the link is provided in last week's Radnor Reader for people who get that email. If you don't get that email and you have trouble digging, I'm sure if you call the district, they can send you to it, or you can find it on the district's YouTube page. But I think that would be beneficial information. And I know anecdotally from leadership of Page that they're going to be looking for help in the fall. So as you're trying to allot your timing and volunteer capacities next year, I'm sure members of the community will be welcome to join Page and help with their group.
Great. Thank you. Radnor Committee for Special Education, Ms. Monahan.
Thank you. I have a very similar report as Sarah. Ms. Dunn, there was a special education information session that again was highlighted in the Radnor Reader. And for anyone interested, you can go and check that out as well on the YouTube channel. Other than that, there's no report, no further report.
Okay, great.
Ms. Stern, I apologize. I misspoke. There are 21 total scholarships. 19 of those scholarships were named. I think it's important that the community knows in total how many students are receiving scholarships. I never want to undercount that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you, Mr. Jubilee.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All righty. Let's see. We have new business. Is there any new business this evening? Okay, seeing none. Board announcements. I think as Mr. Moore mentioned, next Tuesday, June 1st, we have a special meeting of the board. It will at 7 p.m. June 1st. That will be to discuss our budget. And then following the following week on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021, we have our policy committee meeting, our finance committee meeting, government relations and communications committee meetings. And those meetings are all scheduled to be virtual. And then on the next Tuesday, June 15th, we will have our special meeting of the board. That is where we anticipate passing our final budget. That's at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 15th, and it is scheduled to be virtual. You know, to the unknown of when we will be able to figure out meeting in person, we are still working and discussing on that. I don't want to get into a new business discussion, but that continues. I know that Mr. Moore mentioned that as of now, these meetings are scheduled to be virtual. On Tuesday, June 22nd, we have our next round of curriculum and facilities committee meetings, and our next regular business meeting will be Tuesday, June 29th at 7 p.m. And that's our meeting schedule. Already at this time, we have our second round of public comment. Again, this is an opportunity for the board to provide for the public to make comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation. Actually, this is supposed to be on matters that were not previously discussed, but the board requires that the participants be residents or taxpayers of the district, persons with a legal or contractual right to address the board, or persons otherwise recognized by the presiding officer as having a special interest. We ask that the public comment follow the previously outlined .006 policy on meetings and public participation, and that you keep your comments to not more than 4 minutes. You may submit them at boardcomments@rtsd.org or in writing to Mr. Michael Petitti, Radnor Township School District 135 South Wayne Avenue, Wayne, PA. All righty, Mr. Petitti, if you would like to start with our second round of public comment.
We have currently 4 comments for this second round. First is from Kelly Martin, 313 Edge Hill Road. I'd like to ask the board to put the rebranding process on hold and for a comprehensive budget of the rebranding process to be provided to the taxpayers of Radnor Township. We've been hearing again and again since September 4th that a budget is forthcoming, yet no budget has been provided. 8 of you, Ms. Monahan being the exception, through the rebranding at our community and students during a COVID shutdown while we were locked out of our schools. You did it in a negligent and careless way, and it has created a great deal of unrest within the community, disenfranchising 75% of those you're elected to serve. Over the years, I've watched as important items were brought forth to this board, and many have taken years to gain traction, i.e. later start times, full-day kindergarten. Others have been ignored, i.e. adding Mandarin as a language option, or discontinuing the use of styrofoam for student lunches. I personally spoke to this board for 3 years about a horrific math curriculum for our K-8 students, something of utmost importance, and it took 5 years for our superior math program to be adopted. Yet in a global pandemic, 4 students organized a letter writing campaign for an August meeting, and by September, without consulting students or taxpayers, this board saw fit to vote away our school name and imagery with a blank check via a virtual meeting. This is the very definition of dereliction of duty and gross negligence. At the very least, this board might have sought to the input of the Native American students within the district, or even sought to learn the facts of our 2013 mascot retirement. Despite the lies being told, Radnor Township School District retired the mascot in 2013, but kept the imagery. Up until September 2020, Radnor never retired the imagery, and so suggesting that we've been incapable of following through on retiring the imagery is one of the biggest lies of this whole mess you all have found yourselves in the midst in. Last week, Ms. Monahan, Ms. Duffy, and Mr. Jubileer, in an attempt to find compromise for our community, brought forth a motion to allow Rader to be included on the student survey. Ms. Dunn, Ms. Stern, Ms. Solomon, Mr. Babson, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Goldman refused to support it or to allow our student body to weigh in on the identity of their school, just as this board has refused to allow the community to weigh in on the district's identity. One board member had the audacity to discuss being involved in 2 of her school's mascot selections, yet refuses to allow our students the same opportunity. In a few months' time, many of these board members may no longer be serving the board, but our students will be left with the identity this board, these 9 individuals, have forced upon them, and every Radnor taxpayer will be left footing the bill for this unpopular pet project forced on our district during a global pandemic. I'm urging this board to push pause on the rebranding, put a little sunshine on the process, and allow stakeholders the opportunity to weigh in. I'm asking this board to share the total financial cost of rebranding with the stakeholders prior to proceeding with this consequential multi-million-dollar endeavor. Khaki Martin, 313 Edge Hill Road. Hi, I'm writing to let you know that the mascot and rebranding committee is a laughingstock of the township. People are laughing about the names you said we passed through. We did not. We passed through R and no others. Now students are planning to vote for rain frogs as a joke. This is unfair to the mascot committee and to all of Radnor Township. Please pause this process. It's failing. Lizzie Martin, 313 Edge Hill Road. Please stop rebranding our school. I don't want to be a rain frog. The middle school girls all want to vote for the rain frog, and it's a waste of time to keep voting and talking about this. No one wants to get rid of the Raider. Andrew Bolden, 120 Browning Lane, Bryn Mawr. Thank you to Ms. Monahan, Ms. Duffy, and Mr. Jubileer for recognizing the divide in our community and putting together a motion to try and bring Radnor back together. I believe your compromise motion to put Raider back on the list of possible names for the school mascot was spot on, and is what is needed to try and make this process legitimate and inclusive of all. To then also hear that Radnor was already in contact with the National Congress of American Indians and they were willing to work with Radnor was even better. This could have been a great opportunity to learn from NCAI and educate our community. To be able to have our students and community engage and work with NCAI and finding a potential solution could have been a win-win. To the 6 board members who have decided against the motion, do you have something better to help heal the identified divide in our community? Why are we continuing down the same path with so much controversy and unknown factors regarding this topic? I, like many, have heard the comments and read much about this process over the last several months. It was my understanding that the original thought of retiring Raider was that it offended all Native Americans, that it was not inclusive, that Radnor could not ever separate Raider and Native American imagery. Much of this has been deflated over the last several months. We have heard from Native Americans in Radnor Township that want to keep Raider, that they have reached out to their tribes and have said that Raider is not offensive. The NCAI has said that the word Raider is not offensive. Other minorities in Radnor Township have echoed this sentiment. The great Emlyn Tennell wrote of how to be a Radnor Raider was to be included. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the commenters that charged everyone supporting Raider as being racist or white supremacist. To demonize everyone that has a different view should not be accepted. As far as separation, this has occurred many times already. There are numerous schools and institutions that have rebranded their Raider or other school names with much success. I know this does not speak for all Native Americans or all minorities, but it's hard to hear from a diverse group of people wanting to keep Raider while a non-diverse school board is saying it is harmful to them. This is why it should be included as a possible name. Not to mention this is needed to make this a legitimate process or it will fail. I listened to most of the comments from the 6 members who opposed the motion. None of them gave anything new that should oppose the motion, or more importantly, help the current divide in our community. Ms. Goldman made a comparison to Loudoun County School District. What was not mentioned was Loudoun County was a white segregated school founded in the 1950s and adopted the Mosby Raiders as their nickname. The Mosby Raiders were a Confederate Civil War battalion. The school's symbol was a Confederate flag with a Confederate soldier. To compare Radnor to Loudoun is not a fair comparison and very misleading. Ms. Dunn talked about her experience in rebranding at Shipley and Amherst. Shipley never had a mascot or name associated with the school until the branding was done. Amherst is named after the town which was named after Lord Jeffrey Amherst. Lord Jeff was unofficially adopted by Amherst College as its mascot. When it was discovered Lord Jeffrey Amherst mistreated Native Americans, one example was giving them smallpox-infected blankets. Amherst voted to drop Lord Jeffrey. Interesting notes here are all the stakeholders had a vote. The student voted first, and it was 83% to drop Lord Jeff, 90% response rate. The faculty and trustees followed accordingly. Amherst only dropped Lord Jeff and not Amherst, even though the two have been connected for nearly a century. Others talked about potential issues. Isn't that true for all of the possible names? It seems they all have issues already, since the process has not been transparent and changed a few times along the way to try and get wanted results. We still do not even know the cost of this, and this has been asked for many times. This whole process should be stopped with nothing further done, as it seems like we are watching a train wreck in slow motion. Thank you for your time. That is all.
All righty. Thank you so much. All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion from Ms. Dunn, a second from Ms. Solomon. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion to adjourn passes 9-0. Good night, everyone.